Matt is in Dallas. Hey, Matt, welcome to the EntreLeadership Podcast.
Hey, Dave. I'm a weary warrior getting my butt kicked as a second-year business owner. Super thankful for your show. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, brother. Sorry about that, but I understand where you are. How can I help?
So my wife and I own a staffing and recruiting franchise with 8 team members. Last year, we did $1.2 million in top-line revenue. And my question is centered around accountability and building specifically my character of accountability. I'm a high IS, and I can be a wuss when it comes to accountability. And so I admire your high D, and I aspire to be more direct. What mindsets would you encourage an IS leader like myself?
The weird thing is the most relational thing you can do is to be clear. And I'm pretty crazy and boisterous and outgoing and whatever on the microphone. If I'm sitting with someone in person on a high conflict or an accountability situation, I'm exactly the opposite. Everything slows way down, and the voice volume drops way down, and all of that. So that might, in other words, I'm not going to confront someone the way I would carry on here on the radio, right, or here on the microphone, that kind of thing, or hold somebody accountable, even if I'm not confronting them. But and so there's this. In other words, I got a big heart for people. I love people, and early on in my career, I confused being nice. I thought I was being nice by not bringing up things.
Mm-hmm.
You relate to that?
Yes, and I'm afraid of hurting feelings
Yeah.
if I bring it up.
And in the South, it's like an art form to be passive aggressive, right? We could, bless your heart can mean I'm going to slit your throat, right? So, I mean, it's so we're in the name of being nice or being Christian or being sweet or whatever you want to call it. I would avoid early on the confrontation or the accountability. And what I discovered was that over time, 2 things that were negative came out of that. One was that the person had no idea that they were doing something wrong, and so they kept doing it wrong. Well, duh, And the second thing that happened was I got increasingly frustrated with them for something that they didn't even know they were doing. And it would finally reach a boiling point, and I would be going, well, I just wish they would leave. I think I just need to fire them. And they're just walking around oblivious because I never bothered to give them the information. And so we developed a saying around Ramsey about that time, and it was mainly for me, but I've spread it all through our leadership training and through our leadership team, and that is, to be unclear is to be unkind. It's not kind to someone. It's unkind to someone to not give them the opportunity to improve. You're not being nice to them. It's the paradox is you're actually doing the opposite of what you're trying to do. And that's what I finally realized. And when I realized that one, the nicest thing I can do, the most loving and kind thing I can do is to tell someone the truth. Now, we don't have to do that in a mean tone. We don't have to do that in a bombastic, crazy man way, like you hear me carrying on sometimes on a microphone. That's just me having fun and entertaining and all that kind of stuff. But I'm talking about one-on-one, me sitting with someone I care about. The most loving thing I can do is help them improve. Because A, I don't get frustrated with them. B, they improve. Hello. Everybody's happier. And that's on me to then stiffen my... It's kind of like, it's almost the same riff in the intellect, in your mind, as dealing with an enabler, okay? When someone is an enabler, the person who gives a drunk a drink, the helicopter parent who comes in and saves their kid all the time, every time they misbehave, whatever. If you're an enabler, enablers, if you sit and talk to them, are the nicest people. But the paradox is that they're actually being incredibly unkind. They're being not nice because they're causing the drunk to get a drink. They're causing the lazy to never get a job. They're causing they're not helping by covering and glossing over these shortcomings, but they feel like they are. And honestly, they are very sweet people. And they think they're being nice. And the irony is they're some of the meanest people on the planet, but they don't intend to be because they don't love people enough to help them on their journey. And once I got that mindset for me, I became an accountable fiend. I'm like, okay, let's both agree. Number one, we both need to have a real clear agreement with a KRA, a key results area. And if you're an EntreLeadership Elite, they'll show you how to put those together. Okay, that's like a job description. Okay, this is what winning looks like. If you do these three things in your job, you are by definition winning. Okay, now we've got something to hold accountable to. It's not vague. It's very specific and very precise. And then you sit down with them at the day they start at the business. This is what you may develop the KRA with them, or you may have developed it and hand it to them. I don't care. I prefer to do it with them so that they've got some input. This is what winning looks like at your job. If you do these three things, we're going to say touchdown. You're winning the Super Bowl, right? If you do this stuff, you're on track. If you don't do this stuff, by definition, you're not winning. Whatever the reason you didn't do it, you're not winning because this is why we hired you, to do this stuff. And so once you lay that out in day 1 or 2, then when they're not doing the stuff, you just sit down in the private office, not in front of a bunch of people, and say, hey, wait a minute. You remember when we talked about this? This is the stuff you do to win. You're not doing this stuff. What's up? How can I help? Why are you not doing this stuff? You're a salesperson. You're supposed to make 60 calls a week. You're making 5. What are you doing? Playing on Facebook? I mean, come on. Your kids are going to be skinny, dude. You're on commission. It's not going to work for you. And you just lovingly have a conversation with it, but you got to have a real clear target of what winning is, and then and then the last thing I'll tell you is, first thing is it's not nice. It's not a loving act. If you really love your people, you lead them and you tell them and you lift them. The second thing is have a very clear target. And the third thing is increase the frequency of these conversations. Don't wait until don't wait until they're all the way 200 miles off target. Wait until they're 20 feet off target. And it's easier to course correct 20 feet than it is 200 miles. So increase the frequency of this discussion until the people I don't have discussions with are people I've worked with for 10 years. But in the early days, I cram a whole lot of discussions in the early parts of the process and go, no, we're not doing that. No, we're not doing that. No, we're not doing that. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. And we kind of get all in the same rhythm and on the same page with lots of little micro course corrections rather than this oversteering the car and flipping it thing. Because that's what happened to me before. I would wait until I was frustrated and going, what, you lost your mind? And they're going, I didn't know it was wrong. I'm going, you're out of you're just, and they're going, what is wrong? Because they had no idea. All of these conversations have been building up in my head, but not in theirs. They still didn't know anything was wrong because I was so nice that I never told them. And it wasn't nice at all. I love this discussion, Matt. I love your question. You're a great leader to ask the question, and you got the right size team to do this with 8 people. You get the rhythm of this going and make it part of your culture going forward as you move from, you're probably sitting at the Pathfinder stage, it sounds like, and as you move up to the next level to Trailblazer stage, I think you're going to see that this becomes part of the rhythm, and people are going to repeat some of the things we talked about through the culture for the rest of the time. Ours is to be unclear, is to be unkind. And that's the thing you got to look at there. So very cool stuff. Hey, I did it too, man. And I'm the guy who tells everybody the truth really loud on the radio, but in person, it's a completely different thing most of the time. This is the EntreLeadership Podcast.